I've tried to get a call on the plane, I ain't got no call back. I sure have. I'll have it.
Maybe we can get him to the retreat.
I'll worry about it. I'll worry. Let's see if
Test.
see if we can get Mr. Whittingham to our retreat. Mr. Whittingham.
See if he can.
See if he can come to our retreat.
Okay.
Sure.
How you doing, Max? Thank you.
I know that, okay.
You were fine.
Well, I had all this. Thank you, sir. And I believe that, we can call this meeting to order. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I'd like to call the Edgecomeb County Commissioners' regular scheduled meeting to order. Safety instructions. Ms. Evans?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to call Ms. Natalie Best, our Deputy County Manager, forward to give us our safety instructions.
Good evening. To provide for the safety of those attending this meeting, please listen to the following instructions in case of an emergency. First, please take a moment to note where your exits are. If an emergency arises which prompts us to evacuate, please exit this room in a quick and orderly manner through one of the two doors to your right and then proceed to the nearest stairwell, directions to which are indicated by the exit signs. Once you exit the building, we ask that you safely cross Granville Street, which is the street that runs beside our building, to our parking lot to be safely away from the building. Our staff will help provide additional direction and assistance. In the case of a tornado warning, we ask that you exit this room into the hallway where we will all remain until it is safe to exit. In any event of an active shooter in the building, if there is an accessible escape path, please run and try to evacuate the premises. If you can't evacuate, find a place to hide where you are less likely to be found and lock any doors that you can. And as a last resort, and only if your life is in imminent danger, please fight. Our staff will continue to provide additional direction and assistance on what to do. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Ms. Bass. Prayer, Ms. Harris, would you please give prayer?
Dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you for another day of life, health, and strength. Lord, we thank you for those that are here, those who might be on their way. Lord, we ask you to continue to give us the strength to make the decisions for Edgecomeb County in unity. This we ask in your name. Amen.
Amen.
You received the minutes of our previous meeting in your agenda package. If there are no additions or corrections, is there a motion?
So moved.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. At this time, we have, I'll call a public hearing to order relative to proposed text amendment to the Unified Development Ordinance. The public hearing is called to order. Mr. Peters, would you please read the public notice?
Yes, sir. Public notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held by the Board of Commissioners of Edgecombe County on Monday, March 4th, 2024 at 6:00 p.m. in the Jonathan Felton Commissioners Room, 2nd floor, County Administrative Building, 201 St. Andrews Street, Harbor, North Carolina, to amend the Unified Development Ordinance. The proposed text amendment would reduce minimum lot width along interior subdivision streets within R10, R20, and R30 districts. Copies of the proposed amendments are available for public inspection during business hours, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. in the County Planning Office, Room 205, County Administrative Building, 201 St. Andrews Street, Harbor, North Carolina. All parties in interest and all interested residents are invited and urged to be present and make their views known. This, the 20th day of February, 2024, by order of the Board of Commissioners of Edgecombe County, signed Frangie Mungo, Clerk to the Board.
Ms. Evans?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. An application has been submitted by Mr. C.B. Daughtridge, which is requesting reductions in minimum lot widths when located within a subdivision, and each lot fronts an interior subdivision street in mixed residential, single-family rehab, single-family R30, multifamily R10. Specifically, he requests minimum lot widths be reduced to 80 feet in R20 in R30 zoning districts and 50 feet in the R10 zoning district. Our Unified Development Ordinance currently allows a minimum lot width of 80 feet in R20, R30, and R10 zoning districts when located within a subdivision of 4 or fewer lots, and each lot fronts an interior subdivision street. However, a subdivision of 5 or more lots must meet the minimum lot width of 125 feet. The Planning Board voted unanimously to forward the UDO text amendment request to the Board tonight with a favorable recommendation. The Planning Board stated that the proposed amendment is consistent with Edgecombe County's adopted policy guidance as expressed in the 2014 Comprehensive Plan, based in that it is consistent with the growth management policy, growth and development goals. We have tonight, if you have questions, Ms. Katina Braswell, our planning director, as well as the applicant, Mr. C.B. Daughtridge.
At this time, I'd like to call for any public comments. Does anybody here would like to speak on this? Anybody here to speak? Please come forward, sir, and state your name.
Is it on the hearing?
Is it a public comment, sir, or is it in reference to this? Is it in
This
reference?
is a reference to taxes. Probably not.
Please hold there a minute, please.
Hold it.
Just a minute, I'll let you know when, okay? Okay. Is there anybody here to speak at the public hearing? Well, I'm not speaking, but I really just need some understanding on some of what I'm reading, I'm not understanding, okay? Okay, in terms of what the request is, okay?
Sure.
So help me get an understanding of this, of what we asked to do here.
Good evening.
Okay.
Mr. Daughtridge has submitted an application. He's asking that the minimum lot widths be reduced to 80 feet in R20 and R30 zoning districts. In R10, he's asking that those lot widths be reduced to 50 feet. Keep in mind, this is the minimum. The developer can always increase, but this is the minimum that he's requesting.
Now, let me, is that for 4 or less, or that's for some reason that a subdivision of 5 or more lots must meet the minimum lot width 125 feet? Is this for 4 or less lots?
This is for all lots. So
Any lots.
currently, it's 4. And if you develop at least 5, that 5th lot is 125. But he's requesting that all lots, regardless, is going to be 80 feet. The minimum would be 80 feet. If it's off of an interior subdivision road.
If it is, well, what would be, can you give me an example of something that,
The diagram in your packet,
I saw that, but
I think that's what you were just referring to. The R30 diagram. Jason, if you could, if you could pull that up for me.
Yeah.
The R30. Thank you.
that's all right.
In the example, there's a 5-lot subdivision. There's no interior subdivision road. So all of those lots would be required to have a minimum lot width of 125 feet. The second example, which is a 4-lot subdivision,
Which is what, a 4-lot?
4-lot subdivision off of an interior subdivision road. Those would be required to have 80 feet versus the 125.
Go ahead.
So, what would this difference change? I mean, what would it cause? What would be the cause and effect?
The size of the lots would increase the density. More homes would be built within the subdivision because of the minimum lot width requirement.
This is where we used to be. Requesting to go back to where we were before we did the UDO.
Yes, yes.
Just my one question on this. Does this change the whole UDO, or is it just for that subdivision?
It's going to change the entire UDO. Any developer would have to follow the new requirements.
But previously, we were at these requirements.
Yes, we were at the 80 previously.
Well, I guess it just might be a general question. What is causing us to bring, I noticed at his request.
At his
request.
At his request.
I understand that at his request, and it's unanimous vote of the planning board.
Yes.
But this is quite a drastic change that appears to be asking here. And it's certainly, help me, Mr. Peters, if I ask questions I ain't supposed to here, okay? Okay. Does this change the prices? Does this make it more affordable for the buyer, any of our communities that want to buy a home? Does this,
I guess overall, what I will say is that it will help to encourage development.
okay,
Because someone buys however many acres, whereas now it would have to be a minimum of 125 feet when there's an interior street. Now is less, is 80. So that allows them to develop more within that same overall footprint. So it encourages development. Again, as Ms. Braswell said, a developer could certainly
right.
build a subdivision with larger lots if they so choose. But this gives them the option of a minimum of 80 feet.
It just bothers me that, are you putting in little cracker box houses that are so close together? And this allows them to add more houses in that area.
It does, and keep in mind also that the setbacks, they still have to meet those required setbacks. 8 feet setback on both sides.
The setbacks are not changed?
No,
Setbacks.
those are not changing. No.
So on the 80-foot lot, you can lose 16 feet for setbacks from between both sides.
Yes,
You still got 8 feet on the back setback and 25 feet from the road in the front.
correct.
Any other questions from any board members?
What was the discussion like in your meeting that made them all agree to it? What was the selling point?
It was the density, more homes per acre. You could build more homes within that same amount of space because of the minimum lot width being reduced.
Any other questions or comments from any board members? Well, the planning board, yes, please come forward. Please, yes, sir, please come forward. I started to ask you to speak.
Well, this is for clarification.
Yeah.
First thing I want to say, you were right on cue, affordable. You know, I've sold and developed about 300 lots in the county, which I've added to your tax base in the last 2.5 years. And this is what it takes to continue. Those lots were existing lots of record that were already developed that I bought and got a developer in here to build the houses. What happens now, you know that to make it more affordable, you know that advertisement on TV, price. Well, that's what this is all about. I hate to disagree with Ms. Braswell about the more density. The lot size has still got to be 20,000 feet or 30,000 feet, so it's not going to change the lot size. The only thing it does, it makes it smaller on the front. And the front, if you're developing land and you don't know anything about developing land, you might buy land for $5,000, $10,000 an acre to develop. That's not where the money's spent. The money is spent in that $300 to $600 per foot in front of that lot. So if you got 45 additional feet on a lot that's not required by the buyer, it's not required by to get the septic tank in, you still got, if these are out in the county where it's going to be 80 feet, they still got to have septic tank repair area, and it's got to have primary septic tank area. So now that's changed. You still got to meet those requirements, and sometimes you'll have to have a larger lot to meet the requirement, but we're talking about the minimum. And then in where it says 50 feet, that's where the county has gone out and put sewer, has sewer and water, and that's looking at things down the road like maybe patio homes, townhomes, and that sort of thing. So, you know, right now, these people that's buying these lots from me, they're coming out of Burlington and the western part of the state where they're paying $80 to $120 a lot for that same, well, most of the time, 50 and 60-foot lots where they build a house, but these, like in this subdivision we're proposing now, is going to be, would be 80 feet. But the only way the Edgecombe County can compete is that house that sells for $430,000 in Raleigh, we're selling it on Dogwood and Colonial and now on Sherwood here in town for $230,000. So the primary buyers are coming out of the multiple listed market in Raleigh because they can't afford that $430,000 house and that $3,500 a month house payment. But they can buy the $230,000 house, and you've probably ridden by the ones on Colonial and things. That's the kind of house that you can still build on this kind of lot. So affordable and price, and a developer cannot build a lot and sell it in Edgecombe County with 125-foot frontage and pay $300 to $600 to pave the street, build the street, meet all the recreation requirements, the 15% and the 40% conservation easement, put in the water into the lots, and pave it. Mathematically, you'd have to sell that lot for $60,000 to $65,000, and you wouldn't sell it. So that's where you're at, and it is a big decision. So to me, it's whether or not the county wants to go forward for housing that people can afford, or whether we just want to be in this block system that we have. But I don't know if we're out to go out and find more lots that's already existing. So it'll just have to stop. I've got a few down in Pine Tops, but you just can't go out and find existing lots now for people to come in and build these type homes. So, if you got any questions?
Any questions, Mr. Dorsey? Hearing none. Thank you, Mr. Dorsey.
I got a little sketch here. It's small, but I mean, I know you can't contract with me to what's going to happen, but if you can just pass that by, that's what we're proposing on Colonial Lane. If you've been by Colonial Road out here, you've seen two houses built on the front because your zoning thing allowed us to build two to go through a minor subdivision, but this is the 16 we're talking about putting back in there, and they're with 80-foot lots, and they're having the 15% conservation easement, and they'll have water, and most of those homes have a double garage, and they're selling $220,000 to $240,000.
I got a question, Mr. Doctor, if you'll answer. What size house are you planning on putting on these lots?
Most of these houses are from around 15, 16. Some of them can be as low as 13, and you could go as much as 18, but somewhere in the 15, 16. And some of them would have a carport and some of them wouldn't. That's just like the one on Sherwoods, we're not putting carports. Some on Dogwoods and Pine Needle, we put carports on 5 and we didn't put it on 3. So, and that makes about a $15,000 price difference.
And what did you say the selling price might range from what to what?
It's not might. One closed the other day for $243, and there's one now going to close next week for $226.
Any questions of Mr. Dorsey? Thank you, Mr. Dorsey. At this time, is anybody to be heard? I'd like to adjourn the public hearing, and the planning board forward this request with a favorable recommendation. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting side, aye. Aye. All opposed? We got one opposition. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Brown.
Thank you.
Scheduled appointments.
First, Mr. Chairman, we have Mr. Ron Lewis and Dr. David Streeter with Charters of Freedom. You'll recall this is something that was brought to the board's attention by Reverend Roosevelt Higgs a meeting or so ago, and they're going to come and tell you a little bit about their efforts.
Go right ahead.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners and citizens. I'm David Streeter, and this is my friend and colleague right over here, Ron Lewis. And thank you for letting us come and share a few minutes with you tonight about who we are and what we do. We're a nonprofit educational organization out of Valdez, North Carolina. And what we do is go to communities and build replicas that are very much like the Charters of Freedom that are in the National Archives in Washington, D.C. They consist of the Declaration of Independence, the United States Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and the Civil Rights Amendments. Just a couple of things before I turn it over to Mr. Lewis, including a short video. We build settings and not monuments. And let me take just a moment to explain why. A monument is something that pays an honor or homage to a person, place, event that's no longer with us. The Charters of Freedom gives us all of the rights and liberties that we have, including such as a forum like this tonight. So therefore, the Charters of Freedom are very much alive and well. Anyone who has studied anything about the law, including up through law school, knows that if it wasn't for these documents, we would not live in the society that we do. So with that, let me try to go to the next slide here. Oh, it fell a while ago. I don't know if that has anything to do with it or not. Oh, helps to turn it on, doesn't it? Okay. Okay, also, like I said earlier, we are an educational, nonprofit organization. We are apolitical and a-religious. And what we do is for the betterment of each and every community to where we build a Charters of Freedom setting that is open and available to everyone 24/7. What is Foundation Forward? Well, I've pretty much already said it, but our passion is to provide easy and open access for everyone to visit the founding documents, the ones I just mentioned a while ago, to everyone at any time they would want to visit those. Being an educational organization, we also have free, complimentary education materials that I and others at Foundation Forward have developed, especially for K through 12, but can also be used even for looking at freshman and sophomore college courses. So now what I'd like to do is show you this real short video, and Mr. Lewis will pick up. Let's see, can I start that from here, or does someone from IT need to do that? There we go.
I want to tell you about the principles of Foundation Forward. The number one principle of Foundation Forward is education. No matter what you take from this experience, it all goes back to education. Education on American history, to preserve that history surrounding the time of the founding of our country. Education on government, so all will know how government is meant to serve and protect we the people. Number two is access. You see, not everyone can get to Washington, to the National Archives. We want to provide access to these founding documents in communities in a proper setting. And number three is community. Having your Charters of Freedom allows your community a place where they can gather to celebrate, to honor, and to reflect. People ask us, why are we doing this? And we tell them, yes, it's very expensive, but it's more important than money. We believe it gives us a direct link to our founding fathers by helping to preserve what it is they gave this country, a government to serve and protect we the people. If you want a monument or a setting to last, you put more underground than above ground. These are not tip-over monuments. Your foundation goes down 3.5 feet. It is solid, reinforced poured concrete coming up into a solid, reinforced core. Just the core and foundation of the center display weighs over 38,000 pounds, over 19 tons. There are 6 documents displayed. All are life-size, which means the Declaration of Independence is a little larger than the others. Each one is on 1/4-inch etched bronze and weighs over 60 pounds. There's a Charters of Freedom medallion on the front, which is very special. The eagle represents the Declaration of Independence. Proud, bold, defiant. The 7 stars above the eagle represent the 7 articles of the United States Constitution. The 10 stars under the eagle represent the first 10 amendments, your Bill of Rights. From the beginning, this has been an education project. We learned we had 2 founding fathers who were very big on education, Thomas Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin. These two believe that in order to have a free and independent country, you must understand how government works, that you cannot control what you do not understand. Thomas Jefferson in 1789 said, "Educate and inform the whole mass of the people. They are the only sure reliance for the preservation of our liberty." And James Madison wrote in 1822, "A people who mean to be their own governors must arm themselves with the power knowledge gives." Our hope is that our future leaders will come from communities where they have their own charters of freedom set, that your children will no longer grow up just talking about the Constitution and Bill of Rights in Washington. They'll be talking about their United States Constitution and their Bill of Rights, the ones they grew up right in your own community. My question is, are you ready to be a part of history? Because we're going to dedicate your charters of freedom. It's going to be here for the next 300 to 500 years, and your future generations are going to know you were here.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, and the worker bees, thank you for having us in your beautiful county tonight. I enjoy coming to these meetings. You see, I spent over 30 years as a county manager, trying to please 7 different personalities. Good luck, Mr. Manager. But it took me 4 counties to get my 38 years. But I hope you can get all of your years here in one county, okay?
That's hard.
I think he has, Mr. Manager has an excellent board to work with. I can tell already in the short time that I've been here that he has a very good board to work with. How many have been to the National Archives building? Wow, I'm impressed. Normally, Mr. Chairman, when I ask that question, about 10% of the hands go up. That's why we do what we do. We stood this organization up about 10 years ago, and I've been with the organization since the very beginning. I just retired, and Vance Patterson, our founder, asked me to join the organization. It has been my pleasure over the last 10 years to do that. I specialize in North Carolina because I speak the language. You know what I mean. I can get my foot in most doors in North Carolina. We have built and dedicated 30 in North Carolina. There are 3 under construction to be dedicated soon. That's a third. So I have 70 more to go, to dedicate 70 more before I can go home and play with the grandkids. So I'm hoping that I'll get 6 heads to nod tonight, that you're willing for us to come to Edgecomeb County and build the Charters of Freedom. This is a picture that shows our 4th pedestal. This is our national headquarters in Valdez, North Carolina, and the location where we built the first civil rights amendments. I'll give you a little background in that. Dr. Streeter and I were making a presentation in Union County, North Carolina, Monroe. I thought it was going to be a good night because I had been the county manager there for 6 years, and I was just going to go back and be a whole home day, you know. And I did a presentation very similar, Mr. Manager, to what we're doing here. And there was a young African American sitting where Commissioner Boswell is. And when I finished my presentation, he said, "Mr. Lewis, you did a great job with your presentation, but you didn't do anything for me." And I took a step back and tried to analyze what this young man was saying. We went back and sat down around our conference room in our office, and I said to our crew that, "Folks, we have a problem. There's a group of our population that recognizes that we haven't done anything for them." And we started putting things on paper and doing a lot of research. In about a month, our founding father, Vance Patterson, came back with a solution. He says, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to produce what is known as the Civil Rights Amendments. It's Amendment 13th, 14th, 15th, 19th, and 24th Amendments to the Constitution that make all of us the same, regardless of your gender or the color of your skin. We have all the same rights and privileges under the Constitution. And we're very proud of that. Dr. Streeter and I went back to Monroe about 3 months later, and I carried with us a framed print of the Civil Rights Amendments and presented the new edition that we now build in all of our settings. And the young man who had questioned me from his heart, when I presented the document to the board, had tears running down his cheeks because he realized, Mr. Chairman, that we responded to his concern. And we're very, very proud of that today. Now, when Thomas Jefferson and James Madison went to Philadelphia to help draft the Constitution, they took with them something called the Virginia Papers. Well, the Virginia Papers abolished slavery. It didn't take them long after they arrived in Philadelphia to count votes and see that they didn't have the votes to do that. But they were brilliant enough in their drafting, and I like to think that God's hand was on them, because the brilliance of the documents reveal that mortal man didn't do that, that they had divine guidance as they. And David Streeter just said earlier that we're a religious. Now, I don't mean that to. I'm not saying that to be adversarial. I'm saying that as my personal belief that God's hand was on our founding fathers as they created the Constitution of this great country. They knew as society changed and as our country changed, there would be times when the Constitution would have to be amended. And they put language within the Constitution to allow for that. If you'll see the current picture that's up there on the screen, this is what it's all about. We like to see teachers come to the Charters of Freedom with their classes and teach them something about the effort that went into creating this great country. That's a good time to talk about the history of Edgecombe County as well, and the role that Edgecombe played in the Revolution. It's a good time to build a foundation for our future leaders of this great country. If we're going to survive into future generations, we've got to get back to the basics of our founding documents. The Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, as well as the Civil Rights Amendments. But I've been known to dress up as Benjamin Franklin. That's me in that picture. Dr. Streeter and I were visiting the Charters of Freedom in Franklin County, North Carolina, and we were presenting to a group of homeschoolers. Do we have any educators on the board? Thank you. I hope that the good Lord allows me to live long enough to see our public school children embracing the Charters of Freedom as much as our homeschoolers do. Now, I don't mean that to be derogatory, because I was educated in public schools, and Lord, thank you and all the educators for what you do. But the homeschoolers, they're like a sponge, and they just absorb everything that comes their way. And Dr. Streeter and I had a fun time in Franklin, North Carolina with this group. And there's another example in the slide of the teacher and the students. And again, I reiterate, this is what it's all about. Foundation Forward's an education nonprofit. Okay. We are prepared to gift to Edgecombe County the Charters of Freedom at no cost. Let me explain that for just a minute. So, we gift the setting of the Charters of Freedom. If the county would like to build some ancillary services like a sidewalk or flagpoles or things like that to dress up the location, Mr. Chairman, that would be the county's expense. But we're prepared to gift to you at no cost to the county the actual setting of the Charters of Freedom. Now, let me add a caveat to that. As of this date, today is what, March the 4th? As of this date, we have not spent the first tax dollar. That's going to change in 2024. We were just appropriated from the state legislature. The General Assembly appropriated Foundation Forward with money to build 20 settings this coming year. I know for a fact that your senator was very much involved in that appropriation. Edgecombe County was on my short list from a handwritten note from my senator telling us how helpful that your senator was in helping us get this appropriation. But I can't stand in front of you tonight and say we're not spending tax dollars, because that's going to change. And we're so grateful that the legislature of the state of North Carolina saw a benefit in what we do and was willing to appropriate $500,000 to build those 20 settings. Most of those are going to go in eastern North Carolina, because we have pretty much saturated western North Carolina. I had a 4-hour ride in a little car down here today to see you, Mr. Chairman. And we're committed to building those other counties, primarily eastern North Carolina and the eastern Piedmont, over the next 3 years. Our goal is to have the Charters of Freedom in every county in North Carolina. We'll be the first state in the country to have the Charters of Freedom in all 100 counties. We're already working in South Carolina. They have 46 counties in South Carolina. And then after we finish North Carolina, we're going to do all 46 in South Carolina. Now, the reason we haven't already built those 100 counties is because the rest of the world found out about what we do and started pulling us away. But we've gotten back to our original business plan, which is dedicated to building North Carolina. Now, Mr. Chairman, I'm pretty good at reading body language, and I know that you have a long agenda. And old Ron's probably already talked too long. But it's our distinct pleasure to be with you here tonight and to ask you to partner with us in building the Charters of Freedom in Edgecombe County. Are there questions?
Any questions?
I just wanted to make a comment. I believe we may have met when you presented at the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners Conference down in Newbern, because I still have that constitution that you gave me at your table.
I should have brought five others tonight.
So thank you for coming to my part of the world.
Well, thank you for having us. When I finish my job with Foundation Forward, I'll be able to say that I presented in all 100 counties in North Carolina. And I'm looking forward to that day, Commissioner. And yes, I love to work those shows, because I can get you for just a few minutes to explain to you what we do. And that grassroots effort of ours is what resulted in the state legislature agreeing to help fund what we do. And we're extremely proud of that. We're currently working to show you, Mr. Chairman, our credibility outside of North Carolina. We're in 11 different states now. We're as far north as Alaska. We're as far west as Nevada. We're working with the Jimmy Carter Library in Atlanta and Plains, Georgia. This summer, we're going to be building at the Ronald Reagan Library in California. And again, I've probably worn out my time, Mr. Chairman, because you do have a lengthy agenda. But I got one more story I want to tell you. Last year, our team was invited to come to the National Archives building to present. And we began to wonder if they were there to question us as to what we were doing or whether they wanted to, we could work together. We had a great meeting. It lasted about 45 minutes. And then they said to us, they asked us if we would be willing to help them with their extension education. I almost fell out of my chair when the National Archives asked us, a tiny little 10-person 501c3 in Valdez, North Carolina, to help them with their extension education program. And we're in the process of putting that together now. But as a young lieutenant in the 70s, I spent many days in Washington looking at all of our history. But my favorite place to go was the National Archives building, to see the documents that were penned by these men. It just sends cold chills down your spine to be in the presence of those. And again, Mr. Chairman, I've overstayed my welcome. Is there any questions that you might have? Thank you, Commissioner Harris.
But you haven't overstayed yet, because I usually tell you when you you haven't overstayed yet. I usually tell you when you overstand. So you haven't overstayed yet.
I bet you do. I heard you referred to earlier when I first got here as a legend in Edgecomeb County.
Any other questions?
He changed the subject.
Any other questions?
The only other question I had was, would you be utilizing any local workers to do this?
We sure hope so. And if they would help us with that, we would be honored to recognize their participation. The further we can stretch the dollars, the more charters of freedom across the country that we can build. So yes, ma'am, we would be very interested in doing that.
Just based on the presentation, can I hear an opposition from the board? Hearing no opposition from the board, here's what I would recommend we do. I think that I would like the manager, I would like a couple of commissioners to take a look at it. And if you feel that we should move forward, also consider location, those kind of things. Ms. Harris, I'm going to ask you to chair that. Any commissioners that would want to volunteer?
I'd like to work on it.
Any other one, any other commissioner? Those two, Mr. Evans, you take charge of that. And if there are any local citizens here that would want to be in this group, well, you can appoint for me now. You can appoint.
The gentleman on my right.
Reverend Hughes, I'm going to put you on that. Put you on that, okay.
He is what we
Reverend Hughes, you meet with them, Mr. Evans, and make a recommendation to us, to this board. Is there a time frame on this?
No.
Okay.
We're working with 20 counties right now.
Okay.
Now, we hope this, before cold weather comes back again, that we could build and dedicate in Edgecombe County.
Well, I'm going to ask them to have something to us within the next 60 days. Would that fall within that time frame that suits you? And to have a recommendation to the board, Mr. Evans and Ms. Harris.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Brown, okay. It appears that there's no opposition. It's a matter of them reviewing all the information, okay, and possibly citing where we might put it, okay.
For the first 8 years.
Excuse me, just a minute. Yes, ma'am.
I wanted to ask a question, what it is that they're talking about. Is this Edgecombe County they're talking about working in? I'd like to be a part of that.
Your name, ma'am?
Alfreda Perkins.
Okay, make sure you give Mr. Evans your information, and he'll have it when he can call. We've got 4 people on that, including staff, okay? You, Reverend Higgs, Ms. Harris, and Ms. Powell, okay?
Good to see you
It
again.
appears that we're going to move, it appears right now we're moving forward unless something comes from the committee or the staff telling us otherwise, okay?
When your committee or your group finishes their work, I need to bring our construction manager here and let him review your sites. There was a time when they let me approve the sites, but as the organization has grown, that's been taken away from me. And
He'll contact you during that process.
I'll be the key contact, and I'll bring the construction manager here, and we will review your sites and collectively agree on what is the best location.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next.
Next, we have Mr. Graham Palmer and Mr. Naeem Akbar with the Rural Opportunity Institute to give the board an update. And by the way, this is an update to the update that you received a few months ago.
Right.
So they're continuing that work and wanted to let you know where they're at.
Thank you, Commissioners and Mr. Evans, for having us. We are from Rural Opportunity Institute. We are a nonprofit that works in Edgecombe, Nash, Wilson, and a few other counties, but Edgecombe is our heart and soul. And so we're very happy to be here presenting this update. You may remember that we presented in September on a few things we have going with the SROs, with the sheriff, as well as with the town of Tarboro for internships that are also now expanding to the Edgecombe County internships. So we're just here to give a quick update and thank various people for their participation and support and enlist your support going forward. So with that, I'll turn it to Naeem. Oh, well, this is context, so you've seen this before, but we have been having these sessions for the past 2 years, once a month. Anyone can join. They've been mostly virtual, 1 or 2 in person. One was actually in this very room, which was great, thanks to Mr. Evans. And we have all these issues that come up, and it's kind of similar to this meeting. Anyone can bring anything, but the 2 that floated to the top were disrupting the school-to-prison pipeline and workforce development. So those are the 2 that spurred these initiatives, and as these sessions are still going on, we may have more initiatives to tell you about next year, but for now, we're working to expand these.
Thank you, Commissioners, Mr. Evans. Thank you for allowing us to make this short presentation. Through our listening sessions, one of the issues that came up was the schools and making the schools a more healing environment. We came up with the idea that the sheriff's office could work with the with ROI and design a trauma-informed training session, and this would help the the SROs, school resource officers, work with the kids and better understand what the kids were going through. What happened to this kid? If you have a student that is disruptive in the school, well, what happened to him before he got to school? What happened to him after he left school and got in the community? Being trauma-informed will help the school resource officers create a more healing environment, and will, instead of going straight to punitive actions, will actually help the in creating the more healing environment. And they will ask the question is like, what's wrong with you? They won't ask that kind of question to the students. They will ask, what happened to you? And when they begin to understand through our trainings, when they begin to understand what it is in being trauma informed, then they would better be able to deal with the students and create that healing environment in the schools. And we're happy to say that we, at the time, we trained all of the school resource officers in Edgecombe County. And depending on how the merger or the demerger comes, we might have to train some more if we get additional schools, but we're willing to do that. As a matter of fact, we're willing to work in any area of the county where our training would do. With the school resource officers, we actually design a program. We have a 2-day training program that for the school resource officers, because of time constraints, we designed a program for 4 hours. And it was a very good program. The sheriff's office was satisfied with it. We are satisfied with it. And we want to continue that cooperation between ROI and the sheriff department, and also any other department in Edgecombe County that could use our training. Our trainers are certified, and we have to get recertified each year, so we are always updating our training methods.
And one point I'll add there is that we are really seeing the work here become a model for the state, so it's something for Edgecombe County to be very proud of. Just this morning, I was in a meeting with the state juvenile justice system, director of social services and clinical services, and they're thinking about incorporating some of the trauma-informed practices that, like the trainings and also things like biofeedback breathing, which we've also piloted with the county, into statewide practice. So that's very exciting. The Raleigh Police Department actually came to us and said, hey, we are interested in these trainings. So we're influencing the state and the cities, which I think is something which has always been our thing, is there's wisdom and real innovation in rural communities, and it doesn't have to always be Raleigh and Durham telling us what to do. So we've been very happy about that, and the one thing we really wanted to update you on all tonight is that we have produced 2 reports. This one is in co-published with the Sheriff's Office, so it has a bunch of good quotes, and I'll be happy to send a copy to Mr. Evans to give to all of you or email you directly, but it was interviewing students, teachers, and administrators about their experiences with SROs, and there was a really interesting data set there. Most of them had positive things to say. You can see here about, there's a illustrative quote, there's a lot of other quotes like that, but the SRO really made a difference in terms of less arguments, less fights, less write-ups. So this is concrete evidence that the work is creating difference and that the sheriff is leading the way here with us. So we're very happy to report on that. Any questions on that before we go ahead to the internships?
I have just a quick question. I know that the officers are not in all the schools, so what, do you deal with all the elementary schools as well?
Yeah,
Or
we've...
it's just middle and high? I know middle and high school got to have those officers 24/7, but what about the little kids? When you're talking about trauma, that kind of thing, what happened to the child prior to coming in, you know? So, but you do work with small kids?
Yeah, I'd say we do. We would like to do it more. So we are open to partnerships with any public organization. I think we've done training for all the teachers, right?
All the schools, yeah, all the teachers in schools. As a matter of fact, we work with Edgecomeb County public school system for 1 year, helping them to see the need to create that healing environment. We work with the administrators, we work with the teachers, we work with the counselors, we work with the students. At first, we had forgotten about the parents. We had to work with them, but I said, oh, wait a minute. None of this is gonna happen without the parents being involved. Because those kids go home and talking about what they learned at school and being trauma-informed. Them parents are gonna say, boy, girl, get out of my face. I don't wanna hear that school stuff, because a lot of times they're intimidated by the education level of the people they have to deal with in the school. So we drew them in and we trained them. And with this shared language, they had better results in the schools with their kids.
Yeah, and we are constantly looking for ways to work with students and teachers earlier and earlier in life, because obviously, maybe not obviously, but we think that that's the way to make the best difference.
From the cradle to the career. There you go.
Cradle to career. Which is a great transition to the next item. So, in the career aspect, we have, thanks to Naeem's leadership in some of these sessions, we have surfaced a need for more high school employment in the summer. So something for students to do who want to gain professional experience and also money. And so we worked with the town of Tarboro last year to set up this first year of the program. It's called the Young Civic Leaders Program, and they hired 3 interns last year, part-time, paid. The Parks and Rec Department ran the management and the day-to-day operations and paid them, and ROI provided wraparound support. So we helped with transportation when needed. We helped with doing a trauma-informed training for the interns in partnership with OIC Rocky Mount, so we got to their interns as well. And it was very well received, so just to skip ahead for a second, we've also put out a report on that based on the quotes from the interns, parents, and supervisors. And you'll see there the 3 interns last year. You may recognize some of them from Tarboro High football team. But it had very good results. All of the interns said they would recommend the program to a peer. All the parents saw growth in their child, and all the supervisors said they would hire an intern again next year. Again, representative quote from a parent, I can see the difference it made in my kids. It seemed like they grew up. So it was saying that basically they gained a lot of, in addition to economic freedom, they gained a lot of maturity and sort of way to handle themselves better over the summer. We had a celebration in August that I believe some of you may have been there, but we had some of the council members from the town there as well, and it was a chance for the interns to speak up in front of all those people, and we were all very impressed. So with that in mind, we have expanded it this year. Tarboro is hiring 4, so it's only 1 more, but that's a 33% increase. We are working with Mr. Evans to put in place a similar county program where the county will hire interns. And we are also working a lot this year on our recruitment efforts. So actually it's going on right now. The deadline to apply is March 8th. So if you have any students that you know that would be interested, just email me after. We have an online form. And we're also making a concerted effort this year to reach students that are potentially more vulnerable. So we're working with the JCPC and other organizations with kids that have been juvenile justice involved, but who want a chance to have a job and improve their prospects in their career experience. So we've got a couple great applications so far from that pipeline, and we also have a way for people to nominate students. So if a student thinks that, if a student has faced barriers, we're not going to try to ask them about that because it may be awkward or painful, but we want a forum for adults to be able to advocate for them. So we have that. So that's going on right now, and we're excited with the county internship to basically, when the county internship comes online, we will more than double the amount of interns that we have. So we're really excited about that. We'll send you all this report. There's really powerful quotes in there from the students, teachers, not teachers, students, supervisors, and parents, especially the parents were really effusive about it. And then this is some of our other focus areas. So a couple years ago, we worked with the Hope Alternative School, helping them use existing Medicaid funds to pay for a mental health provider in school, and that had great results, 38% reduction in disciplinary action. It has hit some barriers in terms of being incorporated forever into the alternative school, but we are working with them to solve that, and we're also working with the State Department of Public Instruction, another example of Edgecomeb leading the way, to create a toolkit where other school systems can do the same. And then finally, we have a Community Accountability Board, which is comprised of probably a bunch of people you may know. They're social workers, school employees, community organizers, who are all from our community, and they're working on these three focus areas: economic development, education, and health, in order to generate new ideas and new partnerships. So happy to answer any questions now or later about that. And to end it off, we just really wanted to express our gratitude to the Sheriff's Office and the Parks and Rec Department and Mr. Evans for leading the way here. And I think it's pretty awesome because this started about 2 years ago as basically like an idea from Mr. Naeem. And now we've got actual jobs created and people moving up, and we see some big traction and some bigger visions of transforming the economy and the school system. So we're very excited, and we thank you all for your support.
How long is the internship?
It's about 10 weeks in the summer. It's a summer internship. And we did have some discussions with the town about potentially part-time work over the school year, but that hasn't come to fruition yet.
Any other questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
At this time, we're moving on to public petitions. Sir?
Mr. Chairman, if I could, we do have one that was submitted by email, and it sort of follows in with the update from ROI, if I could read it.
Go ahead.
This was submitted by Ms. Crystal Weems Anderson, and it is regarding the ROI program you just heard about. Her email says, "Good afternoon, Mr. Evans. I'm sending this email as I wanted to come before the board and speak, but I will be at another meeting at the same time. I want to bring attention to Rural Opportunity Institute, or ROI, who's already serving the city of Tarboro in some capacity. I believe their training would be beneficial to Edgecombe County government team, as well as our school system, to include administrators, teachers, and students. They specialize in resilience training, dealing closely with trauma. I know the Sheriff's Office had once before used biofeedback with their staff and inmates and expressed satisfaction. I believe that it would be beneficial if the county collaborated with ROI to provide services to its employees. As an employer, we take care of the folks taking care of the people. We usually get a return on our investment at a greater rate than the cents we spend on it. I would love to believe that the Sheriff's Office, Fire Department, Health Department, and Social Service Department staff could utilize the additional resources as these entities deal more closely with the community, that any others to include take on some of the traumas they walk into daily. I would too like this training to somehow be implemented within our school system for our teachers as part of their training, and if the deans see fit, rolling out to students that could benefit from the sessions. I can speak out about all the things being done wrong, but I would like to speak about what we can do to fix what we are preparing to embark upon. It's going to be a year of many challenges, so equipping the team early is highly recommended. Let's be proactive and be the change we want to see in our community. Again, I'm asking the commissioners to take some thought into bringing in ROI to be a part of what's happening here in Edgecombe, so that it goes beyond the city of Tarboro and has as many members as possible. Thanks for the time. Crystal Weems Anderson.
Is that something you are considering? You are talking
Yes, sir.
discussion?
Yes,
You are
sir.
considering that?
We're already having those
You will bring
conversations.
the board
Update.
an
Yes,
update
sir.
on it.
Be happy to.
Back to public petitions. At this time, sir, and anybody else after him, please come forward and state your name and address for the public record.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I might speak a little loud, my hearing's a little gone over the years, and I know I need hearing aids, but I hadn't gotten them yet. I'm planning on getting them.
I need you speaking loud, because I need them too.
Okay.
Your name, please, sir?
My name is Phil Bullock, and I'm in the Brattleboro area. And I was just wondering about these taxes that's come forward on us, these property taxes. I've been in the area a long, long time and farmed most of my life. I've done a couple of public jobs, but this stuff is just unbelievable to me so far as what we're having to pay with taxes. My increase in taxes on one parcel of land was over $100,000. That's one parcel. And I can't say for the people in this room about homes, houses, but we're in an economic depression. And I do not understand it. We're already over $1 and maybe around $1.10 on the rate with the fire department, And I just can't understand what's going on. What's taking all this income? Where's it being spent at? Why is it biting on me as a farmer trying to survive out of the dirt and make it? But it's on the farmers' backs. Farmers are the one that made this county. But it's hurting me, and it's hurting my son right here. He can't continue. We're not going to make anything. Commodities are way down. The price of commodities have gone down tremendously. And now's the time we need a little help. And we're not getting it by increase in prices. And it's not only taxes, it's across the board. Everything, input, seed, fertilizer. And I understand it's costing more to survive, but right here in my home county that I have lived and furnished with income over the years, paid taxes, it's hit me at the wrong time. And I need help now to try to survive. And that's the reason I come here tonight to express my feelings. I don't know how the other people feel, but I think it's the wrong time to increase these taxes. I really do. If we went any other time that we were living so far as prosperity, it might be good. But I'm not in that boat. And a lot of these people that live in this county is not in that boat. I know of quite a few. So I'm just asking, we were already taxed at a high rate, and we've got another increase. Where is the money going to? What is it proposed to help? It's certainly not helping me. Who is it helping? That's the reason I come to speak tonight. And I'd like to know, I'd like to have some answers. And as quick as I could get them, it would help me survive. And I know they're not going to help me much, but I ask just a little bit of sympathy to think about these taxes that we're having to pay. And a lot of foreign countries are coming in and buying farmland. We've got integrators with poultry operations, hog operations, and farmland that's being sold to farmers that's not in the county, that's out of the county. They're coming in renting land, and foreigners are buying these corporations out. So I'm thinking we're a little bit, now they might have big bucks, I don't have them, and I'm just wondering what's causing it with the people in the county to survive. And that's about all I got to say on that situation, but I do not understand, really and truly.
Well, we have not set a tax rate.
Oh, yeah. Now, I was talking about the increase we've had on the property, the valuation. And, we can get just a little help with the taxes, it mean a lot. A few bucks, for anything.
Well, if you think your individual property is not fair, have you talked with our tax assessor yet?
I can't hear you.
Have you talked with our assessor yet, our tax assessor?
Yes, I have. Yes, I have. And he told me they were going to increase. And I said, why?
Well, have you talked to them about your property in terms of?
I talked to the man, Mr. McIntyre. He said they were going to increase, and I guess he's the assessor, isn't he?
Well, I guess when they make the recommendations to us, they probably will have an increase in it. And
well, I got it right here. It's starting to flow right now. This is what comes to me.
And if it's okay, Mr. Chairman, I know we may have some others with similar concerns.
Yeah.
Ms. Lewis is going to be coming in just a little bit on the agenda, and she's going to talk about the next steps in the process. That may not answer all of his questions, but at least we'll talk about the next steps and what has been done so far, if that's okay.
Oh, that'll be fine. We'll see what else coming to us, sir. And if you'll be around, our manager and our tax assessor, we'll be able to answer some of your questions.
I appreciate that.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Is there anybody else to speak?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, fellow board members, attorney, the manager, and all the citizens that are here tonight.
3 minutes, Mr.
Yes, sir. Yes, I'm gonna get right to it. Well, I
You
thank
just
y'all.
used 2.
Yeah, right. Well, I thank y'all for giving us the opportunity to speak to you tonight, and I did hear earlier, there's something being discussed about affordable housing. We do need affordable housing in Edgecombe County. And one of the things that I hope that can happen, being that the county has water and sewage in most areas now, that maybe that can open the doorway, the county can also put up some apartments out there somewhere. I understand years ago, that was one of the hang-ups with putting apartments out in your rural area because you didn't have the water and sewage, but now that has changed. So that may be an option, like that from North Edgecombe School, put some apartments out there. It's got so many areas. And also, a longtime friend, Milton Bullock, from Princeville, y'all know he passed on Saturday afternoon. The arrangements are incomplete, but to my knowledge, he was the last survival of the original platters. And he loved Princeville, North Carolina. He loved Edgecombe County. And Willoughby Funeral Home is in charge of the services. And we hope that we would stop long enough to show some respect to his family during this time. And also, I like to share history with y'all when I come before you. I'm going to show y'all a piece of living history. This gentleman right here, C.B. Daughtry. He is the reason why Edgecombe County went into the district concept. He won the election in November of '94. Him and Mr. Steve Hall went to the first county commissioner meeting, advocating going into the district concept to eliminate the racial polarity around the election, which you all are the beneficiaries of the district concept. Commissioner Harris and Commissioner Powell, I know tomorrow may be an answer to y'all prayers, but I think y'all have done just as good a job as any, so I hope y'all are able to continue to give service. And did I leave out anyone? I know that.
Thank you, Robert Higgs.
Okay, my time's up. Okay, let me thank y'all too.
Thank you, Robert Higgs.
What y'all did for the Whitehead family. At least.
Thank you, Robert Higgs.
Yeah, I haven't heard from her the last 30 days, so I guess everything is going well. Thank you so much.
Randy, you need his address for your minutes.
Okay.
Is there anybody else to speak? Is there anybody else to come forward on public hearings? Hearing none, go ahead. You said you were going to.
It's a little bit further down if you.
Let's move it, let's move it up.
Okay,
Let's move it up.
sure. If we could look at then.
Which item was that?
Let's go to first item I, which is approval of the map reviewer.
Okay.
The first and easiest one. And while I'm reviewing that, I'll call Miss Lewis to make her way on up to the podium.
We'll move it down the agenda, ladies and gentlemen, so that we can get the information that on the taxes to you earlier. Okay.
So regarding item I is a resolution designating map review officer, North Carolina statutes require the board to designate by resolution a staff who will serve as our mapping and land records review officer, as well as alternate review officers. Presented for your consideration is the attached resolution to designate Mr. G. Ray Wilson, our GIS coordinator, as our review officer, and Ms. Teresa Lewis, Caitlin Keel, Katina Braswell, P. Brian McIntyre, and, Casey Price as the alternate review officers.
Any motion?
So moved.
Second.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign, aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, it is approved.
So next is item J, which is regarding petition to appeal taxes, and I'll turn this over to Ms. Lewis.
Okay, so in your packet, good evening, you received a petition from a taxpayer, Mr. Bozeman, his attorney, Mr. Randall Pridgeon made a request on his behalf. I'm happy to read that information for you. The request was the undersigned attorney on behalf of Joel Bozeman, taxpayer, hereby petitions the board pursuant to North Carolina General Statutes 105-312K to approve the valuation set forth in the 2023 Discovery worksheet prepared by the County Tax Administrator, a copy of which is attached here too, and the total amount due as stated therein. So as your overview, while performing damage assessments for the July 19, 2023 tornadic event in the northern part of the county, staff found a damaged agricultural warehouse as well as an adjacent shelter that was not listed on the tax records. Based on the aerial photos and relevant discovery statutes, the discovery letter was mailed to the taxpayer on August 18, 2023, retroactively listing the buildings for tax years 2018 through 23, and included notice of right to appeal within 30 days. After 30 days, the bill was calculated and mailed to the taxpayer in the amount of $88,061.45. On January 4, 2024, I had a conversation with the taxpayer regarding the discovered value and how he felt it didn't reflect the true structure as of the assessment years because the buildings were constructed in phases over several years. The taxpayer was advised to provide me with evidence of when and how the buildings were constructed, along with a written petition to the Board of Commissioners in accordance with the statutes of NCGS 105-312K for any consideration of change, as that must be done by the Board of County Commissioners at this stage. The appellant again was Mr. Joel Jackson Bozeman. Property value discovered was $8,307,684. Property description, location was 6509 Old Battleboro Road. The appellant's basis for appeal was opinion of value. Taxpayer feels the discovered value is not true and accurate for the years of the discovery, 23 through 2018, due to the discovered structures not being in the same condition on January 1 of the years in question. Taxpayer was able to provide the assessor with written documentation, including invoices, diagrams, and photos for the various construction throughout the discovered years. Appraisal staff visited the property as well as reviewed the documentation provided. Based off my findings, I'm now able to determine a true and accurate value, recommend an adjustment to the 2023 Discovery Tax Bill for consideration of adjustment in accordance with the General Statutes 105-312K. Recommendation for the adjustment to be 2.719604.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Questions?
Question.
Go ahead.
So are you saying you're going from this 8.3 to 2.7 or taking 2.7 off the 8.3?
We're going from 8.3 to 2.7.
Any other questions? All in favor, let it be known by the vote sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, it is approved. In reference to, Mr. Willett, in reference to, I think, with if you want to appeal, I guess what I was leading to.
I do have more information.
You do have more information?
Yes, sir, regarding that.
Okay, so.
No. That was,
in terms of Mr. Willett?
yes, sir.
Okay, and if you're doing,
This is a different scenario.
I know that, but I'm just saying, I'm just directing him. This is the way that if he feels that his property is overvalued, right?
Well, I think she's getting ready to talk about it.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. That goes into the next item. We had a letter to Mr. Evans pointing out or requesting a date for the Board of Equalization and Review to be set for the first Monday of April 1st at 6 p.m. and to adjourn on May 6, 2024. And at this point, we have not scheduled any appointments due to, of course, they don't open until April 1st, but we're estimating approximately 10% of our informal appeals will request an appointment. The amount of appeals that we've had today, we've had about 30 conversations between emails, people coming in, and telephone calls. So that's how we had today. Due to the higher number of appointments may require us to schedule those hearings outside the regular scheduled commissioners meeting. Earlier in the year, we did bring that to your attention that the possibility arises to have to hear that outside. We will let y'all know to schedule those, okay? And then as a reminder, an email was sent out last week sharing information on a virtual training session available for members of the Board of Equalization and Review. If you'd like to participate, the training will be offered on March 20, 2024 at 10:30, and you can see your email included in your link is included in your email. I have contacted Madam Carol White to administer your oath, and she has confirmed that for Monday, April 1st. The advertisements will be placed in the paper in accordance with 105-322F on March 22nd and March 30th. So Also, I am also happy to report that the reappraisal notices were mailed on Friday and have arrived in the taxpayers' mailboxes as of Saturday. The new values are also available online. If you do not agree with your value, you can request an informal appeal by completing the bottom portion of your notices. Informal appeals will be accepted until March 30th. The formal appeals will begin on Monday, April 1st, which is the opening of the Board of Equalization Review. For the overall county value changes, those will be reported on your retreat on Monday, March 11th. And I'm happy to address any other questions that you may have.
Anybody, any questions? Mr. Brooks, did you?
No, I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
I just didn't understand, what was coming forward with the rate we pay, the rate.
Well, that will be decided once we do, Mr. Evans complete the budget, and whatever recommendations he make to us, then it becomes up to us what rate we're gonna set.
I understand.
Okay, that's the way that is normally done, and honestly, right now, I don't know what that would be until he presents the budget to us. And the budget tells us how the money is going to will be allocated to be spent. Sheriff's Office, we have additional schools coming on, schools, health, all of our departments.
And Mr. Chairman, if I could add, just to reiterate and somewhat summarize, so just at this point, the values have gone out. The values are determined by the market. That is the sale of property similar to each property that's being valued. For example, where I live, I've noticed in the last 2 or 3 years, homes around me that were for sale and someone would buy them. I'd be curious to see what it would sell for, and I knew they were selling a lot more than what I paid for my home. So I knew that the market was driving, and it's not just here in Edgecombe County. The market, housing market is driving this for any other county that's in this couple of year window of revaluation. So it's the market that determines the value. But as has been said, the next important step is the work of staff recommending to the board and the board making that final and very difficult decision as to how to set that rate. And so certainly the feedback from our citizens is extremely important for us to hear, staff, but also important for you all as the board to hear as well, to know the sentiments of your constituency so that you can make those decisions when the time comes. Our typical timeline is usually about the second week in May is when the board has its budget work session. At that time, I present a draft budget to the board that will include a recommendation for our tax rate for next fiscal year. The board will have discussion about that. Excuse me. The board may decide to meet again before we have a public hearing, but we are required to have a public hearing that's usually held the first Monday in June to present the proposed budget for the upcoming fiscal year. And so certainly at that time, the citizens will be given another opportunity to not only hear what the recommended tax rate will be for next year, but also what the full draft budget is. And we'll have an opportunity to ask questions and to give feedback in response to that. Typically, the board does not approve that budget at that first Monday in June because the board wants to take in that feedback that you get from your citizens. And so generally, we hold a second meeting in June later on in the month where the budget is officially adopted, which will include the tax rate. We have to adopt that budget before the end of June. Just want our citizens to know that are here tonight the typical timeline for the process that's ahead of us.
Also, that means that,
Sir, you
Yes.
come on, you had a question?
Yes, my question.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, ma'am.
So if it's the market value that the taxes are being done, is this assessor going to go out and reassess like he or she is supposed to do every 8 years? Is that going to happen between now and June? That he's going to assess everybody to make sure that the assessed property value is what it is opposed to the market value?
That's what we just did. That's what we just did over the last year. We went through the full revaluation process. And so, and our tax administrator, Ms. Lewis, she is our assessor.
So an assessor is going to go to each individual's property and assess their home, because I believe not having anybody.
So
So we contracted with JWE Services 2 years ago. Our process began 2 years before this. And we did do what we call a window assessment, and that we have had a representative from that company has been to each property. I can show you pictures, and I can be glad to address
Well,
that.
what's a window assessment? Is that just drive by and say,
It
oh,
is.
let me do this?
That's exactly what a window assessment is, yes, ma'am. This is mass appraisal, and this does not require us to go inside your houses and doesn't allow that, especially when you're talking 33,000 parcels, 32,000 parcels. But if you have encourage you to go online, review your property record card, make sure your data is accurate. The commissioners had already voted on the schedules and the percentages of, for certain types of structures and agricultural land, as well as commercial, industrial, residential. That was approved back in November, I believe. So those are the percentages and the values that we use to determine your values. So once everything is compiled into the database, the system is calculated based off of all those factors.
So the date is in the system as when this person needs to drive by?
Yes, ma'am, I have a picture.
What's the URL that we can go and take a look?
It is, if you go to the Edgecombe County website, go to the property information under residents, you can you put your name in and find it right there.
Will it show me all the taxes that goes back 21 years?
It goes back as far as that record allows. I have seen it as far back as 88, it just depends on when your parcel was created. I'm not sure.
Okay. Be right with you.
Mr. Chair, and Commissioners, and Mr. Deputy Manager, I would like y'all to greatly consider, and I understand about reassessment, that's not happening, I understand things are going up, but we can't keep the same tax rate, and I think that's what Mr. Fuller was trying to say, we can't keep that same tax rate. We're the highest tax county in North Carolina.
Second, tied for second.
Okay, I'll give you that.
Just
Just no record, but hey, that's
we're
not-
one in a lot of stuff, but no.
And me as a landowner and a farmer, the equipment we have nowadays to farm, we farm on such a scale now, it is a big part of our budget. And for it to go up 30%, that's a big blow. And just like we're saying, we're struggling now with commodities going down, the input costs that we have. This is a struggle time for us. And I would like for y'all to strongly consider, even if you have an assessment to go up, try to knock that tax rate down, where it doesn't give us such a blow. And I understand things are higher on y'all's end too. You've got to balance y'all too. But please consider strongly, because I'm gonna tell you, agriculture is a huge part in this county. And I know what kind of taxes I pay a year, and the agriculture industry pays for Edgecombe County, and let's don't ruin it.
Well taken, thank you.
Ma'am, you have it.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of bounce off of what they were saying as far as the taxes going up for the appraisal of the property. But also your insurance is going up. So I understand the big bite is taken out of our pockets, but I also wanted to say on your part, I remember maybe like last year, I think it was, seeing a vehicle drive through the neighborhood, taking snapshots of my property and other people's property. So you know, it's happened, but you may not have seen them come through to take the photos. I saw them and was wondering what the heck are they doing out here taking photos of other property.
Thought it was the police. Any other questions? Any other questions in reference to maybe the taxes? Go ahead, sir.
You are able to appeal if you don't like.
Yes, sir. I think in the form that you get, it's an appeal. She also sent out was an appeal form. That's got to be back within how?
30 days is your deadline, and then they still have the opportunity to appeal to the Board of Equalization Review. Once you guys convene as the board, it's no longer an informal process. It is a formal when we can make the recommendation like we would always do to you guys, but you would have to make that decision whether to make the adjustment or not.
So you
I'm sorry, it is important to also know that there are certain things that does not constitute an appeal. And so make sure when you do submit that appeal, you are submitting important information to support your value change.
There's some things that we can't consider that you might put on your form as an appeal.
That's correct, yes, sir.
So you have to understand what you're right on your appeal in order for us to consider it.
That's correct.
So the short version is the citizens come to you first and see what you can work out. And
Yes,
then if they're
ma'am.
not satisfied, they come to us.
That's right. And then if they're not satisfied with you guys, there is also another appeal process that they can take it to the State Board of Property Tax Commission after that.
Okay. That feels better. At least you know the steps. Okay.
Anything, anybody else? If not, going back.
So without any objection, Mr. Chairman, we will plan to convene the Board of Equalization Review at your April meeting.
Do you need a motion?
We did not get one. I think we should do it.
A motion to approve. A motion to approve?
Yes, sir.
Give me a motion. Second?
Second.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign, aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, so it is approved. Okay. We'll be back to budget amendments, huh?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Ms. Evans.
You have a few budget amendments in your packet that require your approval. You'll see budget amendment number 1. We are reallocating funds in Department of Social Services from salaries to contract labor. Again, this is contract labor has been brought in to help cover some of the bases with some of our vacancies. Budget amendment number 2, appropriate additional funds for additional expenses for juvenile placement costs. As you know, Edgecombe County residents that are placed in juvenile facilities, we pay for that, and those costs are trending higher. Also, you'll see that our income, our revenue from investment income has been trending higher as well. So the budget amendment appropriates additional revenue in that line and the additional expenses in those lines below. Budget amendment number 3, this is for purchase of equipment for voting. Back in December, the board approved the purchase of that voting equipment. We realized that the funds that were budgeted in FY23 needed to be rolled forward for that purchase, and so recommending that budget amendment. So those are the 3 that require your approval. Happy to answer any questions you have about those or any of the other ones.
Give me the numbers on those amendments.
Budget amendments 1, 2, and 3.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second? Questions?
Questions on number 3, do we need a department head signature on that?
Yes, we'll get that, yes, ma'am. He's been running around getting election equipment out. So.
Any other questions?
Comment.
Go ahead.
This is the 4th month where we've moved from salary to contract or temporary. It's a disturbing trend when we've just done a full pay study and compensation analysis of our county. So just something to note as we go forward. And I understand that we have a staffing issue and we have to fill those positions, but we don't need that to become permanent. We need to fix salaries, not fix contract labor.
Yes, sir. So noted. Thank you.
But we can't
operate without.
But we can't make nobody come to work for it. Okay? We can't, I think we would fill these positions if we could. People, as we get applications, we fill them if we can.
Right, but I think to your point, and you brought up something similar when we talked about our sign-on retention bonus. Maybe we should take another look at those positions in particular. Certainly, thank you for that.
At least DSS does get some reimbursement.
Yes, that's correct.
Moving on next.
Item B is regarding recreation mini grant.
We need to vote on that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We didn't get it.
We got a motion second. We can vote.
All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign, aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, it is approved. Thank you.
Next is regarding recreation mini grants. The mini grant program, as you know, was created to provide recreational, community-based organizations that provide recreation facilities and activities. As you'll recall, we increased this year's funding from a maximum of $2,000 per project to $5,000 with a total budget of $50,000. The review committee met to discuss and rank the 25 proposals received. Each proposal was rated based on the project description, timeline, area served, number of individuals served, duration of the program, budget and feasibility, and the capacity of the organization. The committee recommends that the 24 projects in the amounts listed in the attached document to receive funding. I support the committee's recommendation and recommend that you approve the grant awards for the 24 programs as presented and authorize me to execute agreements with each.
Motion?
So moved.
Second? Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign of aye.
Aye.
All opposed, hearing none, it is approved. Next.
Next is regarding the application for fireworks permit. You'll see that we have an application from Frank Terzino Jr. For fireworks explosive display at 191 Liberty Lane, Rocky Mount, 27801, on the dates of March 17th through 22nd. Per state requirements, this permit application must be first approved by you as the board. He has furnished our fire marshal's office the required documents. These documents consist of the types of display or fireworks they'll be using. Display will be shot by individuals who've been certified by a North Carolina Department of Insurance fire marshal's office. So the recommendation is to approve the application as presented.
Motion? Second?
Second.
Questions?
What is this celebrating? Well, the 17th through the 22nd that I don't read.
I don't think it's celebrating anything. I think it is something that the private owner of the property is videoing on his property, so it's not, my understanding is not a public event.
Not going to shoot some fireworks.
A whole week of people.
Hey.
It's dangerous. Somebody did that on my street the other night. Scared all my senior citizens laid behind me. She calling me. She done moved to the back room, got on the bed.
And,
They didn't have a permit.
They ain't heard me.
all in favor, let it be known by the voting sign of aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Next, approval of a sale of service weapon to a retired deputy. Is there a motion?
Second.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign of aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none. Next, Ms. Evans.
I just want to call out that deputy's name. This is Captain Ross Ellis, and want to congratulate him with this token of his retirement.
Thank you for doing that.
Yes, sir, no problem.
Next.
Next is regarding our clerk to the board and executive assistant job description. Some years ago, the functions of our clerk to the board were combined with the functions of the executive assistant to the county manager. This is a common approach for many counties. However, at that time, a job description reflecting the new position was not created. Therefore, I recommend that you approve the job description for the clerk to the board / executive assistant, which is classified as an executive assistant 2 at grade 6 on our compensation plan. I would like to note that we're taking the opportunity to do this now because our clerk is going to be retiring at the end of May.
Take me with you.
That's what I've been trying to tell her.
Give you some of her time.
It's a lot of stuff.
Congratulations. Have a motion?
So move.
Second. Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign of aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none. She been doing what she want to. She didn't have no job description.
Doing what she was
Now
told.
you crawling
Most of us
and
do.
lifting, I don't mind.
Now, go ahead, next.
And just to let the board know, I will post this within the next couple of days. Our goal is to try to go through the hiring process, select our next clerk / executive assistant, hopefully at least within 30 days before Ms. Mungo leaves, so that we can hopefully make for a smooth transition in the position. Next is regarding a subrecipient agreement with Edgecomeb Community College. You'll recall that the grant Edgecomeb Community College received that was to be used to equip a training facility at Kingsborough Business Park has been repurposed to purchase the former incubator building at Fountain Park. At your December meeting, you approved the acceptance of ownership of this building. Since then, Edgecomeb Community College has gotten approval from the North Carolina Office of State Budget Management to enter into a subrecipient agreement for those funds, which will pass through the county for the purchase of the building. We're creating a joint effort with Edgecombe County Public Schools, Edgecombe Community College, Turning Point Workforce Development Board, and Caroline's Gateway Partnership to turn the 40,000 square foot facility into a workforce readiness center focused on manufacturing, engineering, and technology. Also, we recently learned while in discussions with one of our prospects for Kingsborough that it will be strategically available for additional ramp-up training for the company if Edgecombe County is selected by them. So presented for your consideration is the enclosed subrecipient agreement with Edgecombe Community College as well as a project budget ordinance. I recommend that you approve both.
Motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Questions?
Do I need to excuse myself?
We can.
Withdraw your second. Withdraw your-
She didn't, he seconded.
We didn't second, withdraw your second so we can excuse her. Okay. Motion to excuse, Ms. Hurd.
I so moved.
Question. All in favor, let me know by the vote, sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed, hearing none, she's excused. Now, is a motion to, can I get a motion to approve?
So moved again.
Yes.
There you go.
Questions? All in favor, let me know by the vote, sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed, hearing none, it is approved. Next. Go ahead, Mr.
Item G is regarding approval of structure for Getting Off the List Task Force. As you know, we have embarked upon an effort to get off the list, as we're calling it. We're focusing on those statistics that need to be addressed to create a better future for our county. We have identified 4 focus areas, which are youth and families, education and workforce development, affordable and safe housing, and health equity. Our approach is to create a task force for each focus area that will advise the work so we can identify and support existing efforts under each area to increase their positive outcomes that over time will enable us to get off the list. The structure of our task forces will include an advisory board for each focus area, which will communicate with larger community groups to gain the insight needed to advise you as Board of Commissioners and others on our efforts. Therefore, I present for your consideration a proposed structure for each advisory board. If approved, we will then recruit members for each to bring back for your appointment. I recommend that you approve the advisory board structures as presented.
Motion.
So moved.
Second.
Questions? All in favor, let me know by vote, sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed, hearing none, the structure is approved. Next.
Thank you. Item H is regarding acceptance of 911 communications grant. Edgecombe County, through the Sheriff's Office, is being awarded a grant from the North Carolina 911 Board in the amount of $41,654.45. The purpose of the grant is to purchase radios that will serve as backup for the 911 communications radio system. This grant does not require a match. I recommend that you accept the grant award and approve the grant agreement as presented.
Motion.
Motion. Second.
Questions? All in favor, let me know by the vote, sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed, hearing none, it is approved.
And I'd like to add, Mr. Chairman, just want to say thank you to Sheriff Atkinson and his team for often pursuing various grant opportunities like this, and so it's very helpful.
Absolutely.
We've already covered items I,
Right.
J, and K.
Did we cover K? Was K in
Yes, sir,
there?
we did. That was
Okay.
calling for the Board of Equalization and Review to convene.
Go right ahead then. Okay.
So item I, which is grant award for Kingsborough Phase 2. So we've received notice from the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality of a grant award for the Kingsborough Industrial Park Phase 2 Sewer Extension Project. The award, which is state appropriated funds, totals $13,774,000. The project will involve construction of 44,000 linear feet of sewer force main, a new sewer lift station, new flow monitoring system, installation of a SCADA system, along with other miscellaneous items. This project will help increase the sewer capacity at Kingsborough Industrial Park to approximately 5 million gallons per day. I recommend that you accept the grant as presented and approve the enclosed grant project ordinance.
Motion.
So moved.
Second.
Question. All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed, hearing none, it is approved. Next, appointments. Trillium Advisory. Do you have an attachment?
You have information here on what constitutes appointments. There are two appointments. One would be a commissioner, and the other will be someone who meets one of the slots that's stated here in general statute.
These are advisory members to the board.
That's correct.
This is, better not say much. Go ahead.
They don't know.
Town of Principal ETJ.
I would like that seat for the Trillium Advisory Board.
You know what this is, don't you? This is advisory to the board. Oh, you said you like to have that?
Yes.
You got some time?
I find it on I don't miss nothing.
Any other board member want to be considered there? Hearing none, is there a motion to, questions? All in favor, let me know. I vote sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed, hearing none. You got that. Town of Principal ETJ, help me. Is that to our planning board, or is that to?
It's to the town of Princeville's extraterritorial jurisdiction for their planning board.
We appoint.
So
Okay.
you get to appoint two members to that
I got it. I'm with
board
you.
for the ETJ.
Mr. Robert Andrews is recommending a motion to appoint.
So moved.
Second?
Did we not get an application?
Well, I want to know which Robert, I know a couple of Robert Andrews.
Yum Yum,
That's what you.
Oh, that's one.
man with the restaurant.
He owns a restaurant in Tarboro.
I know.
Go ahead, your question, the other question, go ahead.
I just didn't see an application.
I don't see
That's,
one.
I was trying to figure out who the gentleman was.
Okay.
So it was just-
I think we get applications on new people. I don't.
I
really-
think this is a
This
new
the
one.
first time
This is
we've
the first
done
time.
this.
Yeah, this name was submitted by staff at Town of Princeville.
Okay, you all right moving forward with us?
Yeah, I just
Okay.
wanted to clarify who it was.
Okay.
I need a second.
Second.
You get questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, it is approved. Recommendations to the ABC Board, Mr. C.B. Brunton, Ms. Evelyn Powell, and Mr. Charlie Harrell are recommended for reappointment. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, need to excuse me.
Excuse me, there's a motion to excuse.
Motion, excuse me.
Second.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, you are excused. Now, motion to approve those recommended. Is there a motion?
Motion approved.
Second.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, they are approved. Okay. After listing releases, anything to be brought to the board's attention?
No, sir, Mr. Chair, happy to answer any questions if you have.
Is there a motion for approval?
So moved. Second.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, those approved. Contracts, Mr. Evans, go ahead.
You have three for your consideration. The first is for the painting of a pod at the detention center. This is already budgeted in our CIP, Exterior Experts Incorporated. Second one is to the Wooten Company, $362,000 engineering services for Kingsborough Infrastructure Phase 2, which is the grant that you just approved to accept. That is grant funded. And third is Thompson Price Scott Adams and Company. That is our auditor. This includes audit for the county as well as the audit for our Tourism Development Authority, and this will be for FY24 audit services. Recommend that you approve.
Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Contracts are approved. Departmental reports for review. We got monthly financial summary.
Yes, sir. I'd like to call up Ms. Linda Barfield, our CFO, to give you an overview of the monthly financial report.
So bear with me, I decided to talk a little bit more about some of our enterprise funds that I have in the past. But as I'm giving these monthly reports, I want to make sure that it's beneficial to you. I will say in terms of our general fund, sales tax continues to trend upward. Tax from November sales, which we received in February, were up approximately 13%. from last November, and December sales, which we'll receive next month, is up approximately 4% from that time period last year. Also, you heard earlier as Mr. Evans talked about our investment income. We have seen that our investment income is doing better than we expected. We're part of the North Carolina Capital Management Trust, which is approved by the North Carolina Local Government Commission. And the investment pool aligns its interest rates based on the federal funds rates. So our good returns are definitely correlated with those federal fund rates. For water and sewer, most of our operational revenue comes from charges for water and sewer services. We've collected a little over 2/3 of what we were expected to, for both revenue sources within the last 8 months of the year. And looking at what we're spending on buying water and managing sewer, we've used about 60% and 58% respectively, which means we're staying within our planned budget for these essential services. And this is a positive sign because revenues are above expenditures, and it shows that we're managing our finances effectively. In terms of solid waste, our primary revenue source for solid waste are landfill tipping fees and rural collection fees, which covers most of your household garbage and yard waste. These two together make up most of the revenues we expect to collect in solid waste. In comparison to last year, this time we are still collecting at a comparable rate, with rural collections being slightly down. However, when we look at the costs associated with hauling those landfill waste to Bertie County, our costs are down or less than last year, so we're spending less compared to last year, which indicates that our rates are effectively covering our costs given the current utilization. Right now, our revenues are exceeding the expenditures, which is a positive sign for the enterprise fund, so we're in good standing right now. And I'll take any questions.
Any questions? Thank you. Manager.
Mr. Chairman, on this next section, which is new for our agenda, I'd like to come over here if I could. I primarily want to address the public that's here tonight in an effort just to help our citizens better understand county government, how we operate. We want to take an opportunity over the next few meetings to do what we're referring to as open door to Edgecombe County. So in only about 5 minutes, I want to cover just some of the basics. And tonight, I want to talk about the structure of the county. And so really the goal of this is to educate and inform on the fundamental structure of Edgecombe and functions of Edgecombe County government. And we'd like to do this we believe that the better our citizens understand our organization, the better that our organization can serve our citizens. Just as a reminder, this is our relatively new vision statement. Our vision for Edgecombe County is that it is a historic place that values its citizens and natural resources and creates opportunities where people are proud to live, work, and play for generations to come. We also realize that in order for us to help our county to achieve this vision, we need to be the organization that we need to be as Edgecombe County government. And so the side of our vision statement that faces inward to us and our staff is that Edgecombe County values its employees so that it can be an organization committed to providing exceptional services to our citizens through an innovative, passionate, and creative team devoted to excellence, integrity, and transparency for the continued growth of our county and staff. And so I just want to talk a little bit about the basics of county government. Most of you probably know this and understand this, so this is likely more of a refresher than anything else. I'm sure you know that there are 100 counties in the state of North Carolina. We are a political subdivision of state government created by North Carolina Constitution. There are over 500 municipalities in North Carolina. Our reason for being is to provide basic services to our citizens. That's why we exist. We don't exist just so we can have a job and we can get together once a month to talk about some stuff. All of us, our reason for being here is to provide services to you, our citizens. And of course, we are led by elected officials. Of course, you have our 7 Board of Commissioners, 6 of them who are here tonight. We also have other key elected officials within county government, including our sheriff, our register of deeds, and others. So we are an organization that is led by elected officials. I know this is very busy. I really don't even expect you to be able to see this from where you're sitting. The point of this is that of all the services that we provide, they have some overlap with other levels of government. There are certain things that only we provide as a county. There are certain things that only the state provides. There are certain things that only our towns and cities provide. But there are some areas where those services overlap. So, we're very fortunate to have, we have 10 municipalities in Edgecombe County. We're unique in that we have 3 of our municipalities that cross over other county lines. Of course, Rocky Mountain is split between Edgecombe and Nash. So is the town of Whitakers, and Sharpsburg is divided between 3 counties. And so we are very pleased that we have good working relationships with all of our municipalities at different degrees so that we can adequately provide services to you, our citizens. I want to show you just a basic structure of our organization. You'll see at the top of this organizational chart is our Board of Commissioners. All 550 or so of our employees sort of report up through that organizational structure to our commissioners. There's an exception you'll see over to the right, and those are our departments that are led by elected officials, which are our sheriff and our register of deeds. Those staff members report to and serve at the pleasure of those 2 elected officials. We talked about our clerk and executive assistant tonight. That is a dual role position that both works and supports the board as well as provides assistance to me and my team. We're also very fortunate to have an in-house county attorney. Some counties have those legal services by retainer. A few years ago, we were very fortunate to bring Mr. Peters in as an employee of the county, and that has given us greater access. We are wearing him out, but I think he's loving every minute of it. But we're glad to have him a part of our team. And under that structure, there are primarily 4, as I refer to as my executive team, that reports to me. And over here, I'll ask Natalie if she'll stand. You've met her early if you were here and saw her reading our safety instructions. Ms. Natalie Best is our deputy county manager. Next to her is Mr. Mike Matthews. He'll stand. He is our assistant county manager. They serve in very similar functions. One distinction is, as deputy county manager, Ms. Best is able to serve in everything that I can do as county manager in my absence. So that is the difference in those 2 positions. The other part of my executive team is Ms. Linda Barfield. You can stand, Linda, again. You just saw her a moment ago. She is our Chief Financial Officer. That position used to be Finance Director. We elevated that in our organizational structure because we realized the importance of to our organization overall. And Mr. Peters, though he reports directly to the Board of Commissioners, he serves as a key part of our executive team, as well as Ms. Mungo. You'll see that there are those in red are under that structure at the bottom. Those are the 4 departments that report directly to me. Ms. Bess, over to your left in the yellow, there are 5 departments that report directly to her. Over to your right, there are 4 departments that reports to Mr. Matthews, and then he serves as a liaison to 2 other departments that are key to our organization. That's Cooperative Extension and Soil and Water. So again, just so that you can have some idea as to the structure of our organization. This is, we are somewhat of a mid-sized county. There are several counties that are much smaller than us. There are several counties much larger than us. But we're a pretty good-sized organization, and it's necessary for us to have some structure in order to function so that we can provide those services in an efficient and effective way to you, our citizens. And so, you get to see our board each and every month. When I became manager, someone told me, said, "Oh, how does it feel now being the boss?" I said, "Well, I went from having one boss to now I got 7 bosses." But I must say that you are very fortunate in this county to have a board that works well together. Now, they don't always agree, but they do work well together. And you just don't have that in other counties and even some towns, I would say. So if I could, I'm just going to ask each board member, we're just going to go around the table. If you don't mind standing, giving your name, you can see their names here, and tell what district that you represent, and anything else that you might like to share about yourself.
Let's go ahead, sir.
I'm George Thorne, District 4. I was elected in 2022, so I'm the newest board member.
Following the baby, I'm Evelyn Powell, District 1. Been here for 16 years, was elected in 2008.
I'm Donald Boswell of District 6, which is the West Edgecomeb area. I have 3 daughters, and I am the current chairman of the Budget Committee. I've been here, I think, for 13 to 14 years.
Behoove County.
That's right.
I'm Leonard Wiggins, District 3, been here since 1996.
I'm Commissioner Viola Harris, and I serve District 2, and I've been here for 23 years. And this week, my husband and I will be married 44 years.
Congratulations.
Ralph Webb was appointed in April of 2019 after the passing of Mr. John Felton, the very gentleman that this room has been named after. Give me this opportunity to please say to you, Mr. Felton, I believe, served for 28 years. I don't think I will top that unless I'm blessed to be rename me as Methuselah, okay? But I will strive to serve in his big shoes that he left here. Elected in 2020, again, hopefully we'll be re-elected again in 24. So 5+ years and looking forward to more.
Thank you, sir. And not here with us tonight is Reverend E. Wayne Hines, who's been on the board for a long time, too. 24 years, long-standing board member. And so, again, this is just a brief way. We want to sort of open the door to our organization that you can have some understanding. We'll do a series of this. Next month, we're going to talk about the basics of the budget. That'll be somewhat of an introduction to our more in-depth conversations when we come back and present next fiscal year's budget. So just thank you for a few minutes to be able to do that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Evans, for no surprises. Something different for the board, okay? Kind of gives out a different information for us, okay? Moving on, anything else in your report?
Yes, sir. I do want to note, you'll recall that you approved an application to be submitted some time back for the CDBG Neighborhood Revitalization Program. We just received notice that we have been selected to receive an award of $950,000, so that's great. I believe this will be our first neighborhood revitalization program, maybe ever, if not in a very long time. But as soon as we receive the grant agreement and other documents regarding that, we'll bring that back for your approval. Next is regarding an update on our opioid settlement funds. You'll know that we've talked for some time that there's been what they refer to as 2 waves of funding coming in the direction of North Carolina counties. The first was due to a nationwide settlement with drug manufacturers who, according to the settlement, was contributing to the opioid epidemic that our nation is experiencing. And so for some time now, we have known that we're going to receive some funding for that over a period of about 18 years. We have kicked off our efforts in using those funds, primarily of which we're using the money to stand up and sustain our community paramedic program. We knew that a second wave of funding was coming. We've been waiting to see exactly what that was going to look like, how much that was going to be. The second wave is involving, I think it's 3 or 4 pharmacy companies that were included in the lawsuit as well. So what I've shared with you tonight in your agenda packet, you'll see that from 2022 to 2038, we can expect to receive in total from both waves $4.8 million. You'll see the breakdown of the amounts that we'll be receiving over those years. The amount, vacillates some. Current fiscal year FY24, we've received most of that funding. It's coming out in several installments for this current year, and we are on track to receive that full amount of $684,501 for this year. So I've asked our team to go back. They have a committee that's been meeting. They're going to update their recommendation on how those funds are going to be spent. Our plan has been to expand that community paramedic program to hire at least a second community paramedic. But we'll bring that final recommendation back to you soon. So that's good news. The community paramedic is relatively new, but I believe is off to a good start. The purpose of it is that if our EMS department, if our emergency service department, if they pick up a citizen in Edgecombe County that has overdosed, that our community paramedic can follow up with that person after they return home and get them connected to resources, and really is somewhat of a navigator to the resources that are available. And so we've seen initial feedback on that's been effective already so far. So,
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Would any of that money be available to fund those few items that he presented to us?
Yes, sir. It would be.
Okay.
It would be
Just
for
received his IV pumps this week, so he's very excited about
That's
it.
right. That's right. Good question. You have there my major events and updates for the month. I do want to let you know regarding our Human Resources Board leadership. Our chairperson for our Human Services Board, Ms. Robin Webb Varnell, who recently remarried, at our last board meeting, she stepped down from the board because she is moving out of the county and she has to live in the county to be able to serve on that board. And so we were able to celebrate with her for her leadership on the board since she's been there. She originally served as the vice chair and then became chairperson. And happy to report to the board that Commissioner Harris was selected by our Human Services Board to serve as our new chairperson, and Ms. Marcia Cooper is our new vice chairperson. So congratulations, Ms. Harris. You have the monthly workforce development indicators, the TDA financial report. Next, I want to talk a little bit about update on ARPA projects. You'll recall that we as a county took what they call the standard allocation to use our funds as revenue replacement. What that did was it allowed us to roll those funds into general fund, and it gave us a greater flexibility with using those funds. Most counties took that same approach. What you have in your agenda packet is a list of the projects that you originally approved. It's giving you some update on some of the things we've already completed using those funds. You can see of the $9,997,833 that we received, that a little over $8 million has already been spent. I do want to draw your attention to near the top of that document. You'll see under the economic development category, we had set aside a total of $150,000 that was labeled as other site work needed at Kingsborough. We've already spent $16,000 of that. We did some vegetation control out at the Kingsborough Business Park. You'll see over to the right the other items that we were planning to do. We've been holding on to that money. In talking with our staff and with our partners at Carolinas Gateway Partnership, we believe that there's a higher and better use for those funds. As you know, over the last several months, we've had some very active projects looking at Kingsborough Business Park. Oftentimes, these prospects will ask for information and they want it quickly, and so the partnership has been very flexible to respond A lot of it has been engineering-related work, update on information, working with the client to help them with, potential layout of their facility on the pads or what have you. And so because of that, the partnership has accumulated some invoice that they have paid because of that. But we believe that because that they are connected to Kingsborough Business Park, and that it's for the benefit of us landing these projects, and we believe we stand a good shot at landing at least one of those. My recommendation over on that right side, that $134,000 balance that's available from that $150,000 originally, be repurposed to reimburse Carolinas Gateway Partnership for some of those expenses. Their expenses actually total more than that. They total right at $182,000, but I'm recommending that we use the balance of that to reimburse those costs to the partnership. Let's see if there's any feedback or any questions from the board about that.
If not, we need a motion.
I don't think so, as long as there's consensus that we do that.
Anybody, any thoughts on the board? Hearing none, it appears that you have.
All right. Thank you.
I did have a couple questions on.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, the infrastructure, you've got broadband, $1 million.
Mhm.
I'm asked this every day by constituents, especially out in the county. What is it doing? Where is broadband? Because out in Leggett, is in her district, we still having lots of non-connectivity. Down 97, Whitaker's is just nothing. So can you tell me, it says hold for the CAB program?
Sure, yes ma'am, absolutely. And so you'll recall, originally when we were looking at the use of these ARPA funds, that you all agreed that we were going to set aside $1 million to help encourage the expansion of broadband in areas of the county where there's limited access to it. The Brightspeed has received award from the state through their Great Grant program. So of this, $50,000 of that has been committed as match. It wasn't required, but we wanted to show, the county having some skin in the game. So then we knew that there was some other funding, and by the way, the agreement you all approved the three-party agreement between us, Brightspeed, and the state a few meetings ago, and Brightspeed is gearing up to start getting out in the field doing their work. Next, there's another funding opportunity that's coming available to counties. It's called CAB, and I'm sorry, I forget what that acronym stands for. But it is a little bit different from the Great Grant program. It is something that we as the county will apply for directly, and then we will select a provider to then use those funds. It also requires a greater level of match from the county, which is why we were holding on to these funds for that. And so updates related to the CAB program, the state has put together a process to assist all the counties that want to participate with that procurement process, selecting the provider or providers that will partner with the county. We just got the other day the template that we will use to do our request for proposals for that. We've had to select some staff members to participate with the state team on a committee that will review those proposals once they come in. So we expect within the next couple of weeks to get that request for proposals out there. And that will be then, what we'll be asking them to do is looking at what will be on the ground once the Great Grant program is done and anything else that's happening out there. How do we build on that? So there'll be more opportunities for you all to engage and give your feedback as far as which direction should we go, what areas would be priority for us, looking at what's not already being done in other programs.
And one other thing.
Yeah.
Public health, you got $25,000 support services for senior citizens underway to do what? Where?
So in our Office on Aging, Ms. Deborah Coley solicited proposals from agencies that provide services to our senior citizens and is reviewing those proposals to make recommendations. It'll be similar to our Recreation Mini Grant. We'll be making small grants to these organizations to help support some of the work that they'll be doing. And as soon as we know who those are, we'll be happy to let you know.
Now, is it somewhere on our website that tells people that that's available for them to apply for?
I believe it's already closed. We did have something posted on our website and sent it out directly to agencies, and I can't remember right offhand how many proposals she's received already.
Okay.
A good question. Any other questions about that?
Any other questions for the board? Hearing none,
Mr. Chairman, if I could, a couple of things not on the list there. You'll recall that we went out and we went through a procurement process and we selected a state lobbyist. The state lobbyist was KTS Strategies. They've been working with us and our team, meeting on the regular, and they were lobbying for us at the General Assembly. Recently, that team, it really was a team within the law firm that was their lobbying team, that team has left that firm. And so because we have, the contract is with that company specifically, can't just automatically transfer it to wherever that it is they're going to. So, first of all, I want to let you know that. We did not complete the contract. There's still some money available in that purchase order. But I wanted to see if that's something the board is still interested in us doing, having a state lobbyist under contract. Then what we'll plan to do is to go back through the procurement process to select another firm.
I think we need to look at what results you think
Right.
we got
Get in.
from having them as a lobbyist. And I ask you for them. Is
Okay.
that something that you are recommending that this board do? That we might do it as the General Assembly's in session, depending upon when the session, we might not even have it as an ongoing process.
Right, I think the short session won't be as much activity as it was in the long session last year. There won't be as much budget appropriation activity as what we saw. I think we should at least consider possibly another firm. What I would recommend is that just ahead of our next fiscal year, we go back through that process, but we wait to budget that in FY25.
Any comments from the board?
Yeah.
That appears what we'll do.
The other thing I'll mention is our retreat, which is next Monday, the 11th. We will be having it at Edgecomeb Community College at the Center for Innovation, which is where we had it last year. We originally were going to start it, have breakfast at 8:30 and start the meeting at 9. We need to push that up a little earlier because there's another group that's going to be coming in behind us to use that same space. And so we'll have breakfast available at 8 a.m. Would ask that the meeting starts at 8:30. I do have a draft agenda at your seat. When you get a chance, take a look at it. If there's anything that you'd like to change about that or anything you'd like for us to add to that, just let me know.
Anything else?
That's it for managers.
Anything from commissions?
I just wanted to make an acknowledgement. I've had several requests from citizens, particularly for services that the Sheriff's Office provides, and I just wanted to thank them. I thanked them privately, but wanted to thank them publicly for their professional and quick response to all of those requests. Everyone left that with a glowing callback to just the amount of professionalism that came out of that office. So appreciate those, that responsiveness and willingness of the sheriff to help those citizens with those needs.
Anything else from commissions?
Yes, sir, Mr. Wiggins.
Go ahead.
I'd like to express my appreciation to you, Mr. Evans, and fellow board members in regards to my dad's death on the 7th. But not just my dad's death on the 7th, but most of you know his last 2 years and with his health issues and dementia. I just can't tell you what a strength that I have gained from knowing that we were in your prayers. And thank you for the flowers. But again, those prayers meant so much to our family. And this is just not my thoughts. It's from it's even from my dad's thoughts. Thank you for remembering him. Many people in the audience have reached out to me and our family. We can't thank you all enough. Thank you very much. One other thing I got to say is I'm gonna end it on a positive note, but I'm gonna say this. I come into Tarboro and over the past month with what I just said. We have a lot of dealings here in Tarboro. When I come into town, most of the time I'm on Highway 258 coming in by Sarah Lee. I'm not pointing any fingers or calling any names, But, and I know the wind's been blowing, quite a bit. Here it is, March. But for our economic development team, I just want to say to you, when you bring people in here looking at Edgecombe County, do not bring them from the south end of the county up 258 by Sarah Lee, and especially not down Colonial Road. Again, I'm not going to point any fingers, but if you want to get in your vehicle and ride down 258, when you take a left at what used to be called 258 Country Store, it is a disaster. It is trash everywhere. It is trash blown into adjacent taxpayers' farms, land, house, yard. It's terrible. And I think I know what the deal is, and I'm not going to say, but I'm going to just ask some investigative team to look it up, see what's going on, and we need to fix that. We need to fix it. I don't know if it's, I would like to think that trash trucks have trash covered on their way to the landfill. I think possibly they're not being totally emptied, and then when they come back this way, I like to give it away, didn't I? When they come back this way, with the back of those trucks being open, trash that was supposedly dumped, that didn't get dumped, it's just being circulated around in the air, and you know where that goes. So it's unfair to taxpayers who happen to reside in that area. They shouldn't have to suffer that brunt of all that trash being accumulated and strewn across the fields, not just in the ditch on the side of the road. It's a disaster. Just see if we can do something about that.
Sure, and thank you for bringing it up. And to that point, I'll take this as an opportunity to encourage all of our citizens that if you're taking trash, limbs, whatever, whether it be to on Colonial Road or one of our convenience sites, please cover your load. It is actually a law to do it. Sometimes you think, I'm making a quick trip, it won't take me long, and you forget about that, that little bag of trash that comes untied in the back and it blows. You don't even know that it's blowing. But I would just encourage, I think there are probably many culprits to that. I think all of us can play a little bit of part in that, in making sure that we're transporting to the landfill or anywhere else, that we make sure that our loads are covered. But I think you're right, in some cases, it's because of some of the larger transporters, maybe not.
And again, I don't mean to point a finger, and I'm not saying, it's something that if a problem's identified, if we can fix it, if we can make a call or two, we need to fix it.
Sure.
That's all I'm suggesting.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Well, I think that's a request from this board. Let's fix that. Fix that we can, and if it's on private property and we can't, we need to do whatever is within our jurisdiction to do. And give us a report back on that.
Yes, sir.
That if he's bringing that as a public matter, it certainly needs to be fixed.
I just wanted to say, I think we were very grateful to the Agricultural Secretary of the White House visit that we had on the 21st. If you're not there, you missed an interesting visit. By working at the college, we had to go through that whole week of being checked up and down and sideways, by the Secret Service coming in and students having to go one way and everybody else. But our Congressman Davis brought him to us, and it is going to afford us some agricultural grants, which we're very appreciative of, that they started their trip here in Edgecombe County. It was very well attended. Edgecombe, Halifax, Wilson, Northampton, all those counties that came to Edgecombe County. So I think that was a big plus for Edgecombe County, that we were able to entertain those folks and have our surrounding counties come to Edgecombe Community College. So I want to thank you for helping us get the word out to our community, and especially to our farmers.
Anybody else? Mr. Peters?
No, sir.
At this time, ladies and gentlemen, we're scheduled to go into a closed session to discuss economic development. Is there a motion?
Second.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, we'll be going to executive session. Make sure you get her. Get somebody to get
Could be a vote.
I'm gonna pray for your health.
Oh, now she gonna pray, but she, Mama, I want some church prayer. I want some money in that prayer.
Okay, we're back over.
Just a comment from me, on the retreat, I got a post-op, medical appointment on Monday that came up and I couldn't change it. But I'll be there for the first half, and I'm gonna try to get back because they don't usually go long, but just put Ms. Harris on notice also this, for the, second half of the meeting. But I'm gonna try to be there most of it.
I'll take a whole day of vacation off. I'll be there.
I think you had no vacation. I'm trying to get, anything else to come in this open session? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second. Questions? All in favor, let me know by both sides, aye? Aye. We now stand adjourned.
I'll let you go.
Was that English?
Right.
Go in there with 3 minutes.
Highway out there.
What happened with it?
I think it counts.